Howdy, you delicious people. I'm here to review Sailor Moon 1992, Season 1, Episodes 1 through 3. I've never gone on and seen Sailor Moon before, and so I thought I would give it a chance to just like, okay, what is this? I would go on and randomly see this costume being used in like wrestling matches at some points. I would go on and see like random YouTubers, dudes most of the time be wearing this costume. And I'm like, okay, why are they wearing it? And every once in a while, I would just go on and just see this costume being used somewhere. I'm like, okay, why? Why have this be used? So, and really, whenever I saw it, I was like, Sailor Moon, like it could be any number of other things that of this same costume could be used in a number of, and I would just not know why. But, anyways, Sailor Moon. To me, this character, when finally after watching 3 whole episodes of it, which, in all honesty, I don't really think that 3 episodes was really enough to get a complete feeling of the show so far. So hopefully this does well so I can justify watching more. But anyways, Sailor Moon to me specifically feels like uh I'll have to go on it and give a bigger number of characters here. Firstly, I'll have to go on and say, like, for comic book people or MCU fans, I would say Doctor Strange, because of the hand gesture things, of which that of course Sailor Moon goes on and does. I'll throw in Wonder Woman because the whole tiara thing. It seems that Usagi or Sailor Moon doesn't have a lasso of truth yet, but maybe we'll get there. Within the 3rd episode, Usagi or Sailor Moon goes on and she gets a device that gives her an ability to disguise herself. I'm like, so is this Jim and the holograms now? Straight up, like that's basically what we get a blonde character who now has this device to disguise herself. It's basically Jim. It really is. So, but if anything, like the real comparison I think to Sailor Moon would probably be a character that a lot of people are not very familiar with. There is this character called Masked Rider, Kamen Rider. It's one of the same character. It's basically just a Japanese character that ends up getting pronounced either or of these things. Uh, the one for probably American viewers that is probably to be the most popular is in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. There is a crossover event with episodes called A Friend in Need, and Kamen Rider crosses over to be involved in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers episodes, and then eventually is to be a spin-off with its own show called Saban's Masked Rider. But I would just say watch the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers spin-off or story arc thing. In that specific iteration of this character, we have him of Kamen Rider, Masked Rider. We have him say, "For Idenoi, my friends," and really, when I was watching that, I'm like, that's basically Sailor Moon and vice versa, Masked Rider. And when to have watched Saban's Masked Rider, as well as also Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I would notice that Masked Rider has a very limited number of moves. And Sailor Moon, for currently right now, has a very limited set of moves that she goes on and does. She just really has the tiara thing, and that's like her ultimate move. And it seems that even getting to the 3rd episode, that is eventually going to become less effective. And we'll have to see what Sailor Moon is going to have to learn to eventually step her game up because she needs to. She can't just be relying on all these gadgets and what have you. She has to like learn to fight and something, right? So now let's go on and let's talk about Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon is to be this character that is to just kind of be thrusted into this whole like superhero thing, and it seems oddly enough like Luna is to be telling Usagi like, hey, why don't you know all this stuff? Why don't like why is it that you're going on and struggling through this? And we have Usagi and we also have Sailor Moon V, who look identically the same to one another. And in 3 episodes, they don't go on and explain, like, okay, was Usagi a person that had gotten amnesia? And was this person in the past? Or, like, is Luna just going on and using her magic because Usagi helped her to now just be Sailor Moon V? Like, which is it? Like, what is it? Like, I don't know. It's in 3 episodes not said at all. Like, it's just to go on and have us forget that Sailor Moon V even exists. Like, they have video games of her. Like, they go on to like say that she's this important person. But yeah, like I'm just like, okay, so is Usagi just stepping in for her? I'm so confused. But if anything, it's not quite explained yet, and maybe if this just doesn't go well, then I will never know. It'll bug me to the end of time. But anyways, maybe it'll never get explained in the show, and that'll irk the crap out of me. So Usagi goes on to be Sailor Moon, and in the first two episodes are just kind of identical to one another. Too much so to where it's like, okay, this seems kind of a little bit lazy. In the third episode, though, it does go on, and it's like, okay, finally you're doing something different. Like, all right, like you're going and giving Sailor Moon this extra bit of weapon to use to disguise herself, which is basically just gem, but gem and holograms, but whatever, I can be fine with that, because at least we're just doing something different with the show. Even the first 2 episodes, we have somebody crying in it. I'm like, oh my god. If somebody cries in every single episode, I'm just gonna be like, I do not want to go through this. Because I would go on and see in My Hero Academia, the first season, like we just have a character that just cries all the time, and I'm like, I can't take that, whatever. No. We have like Devilman Crybaby, and just no, I don't know why in anime that becomes a staple that characters have to cry. How about we never have that in an anime? Never. Why is it that anime finds people crying, and I mean like crying is like like how is that attractive to just chuck in a show? Also, like when you hear it on a plane, you hear a baby crying. Is that attract? No, it's not. So why do it on a show? I guess they figure like, oh, we've already bought them into so many minutes of this episode. Like, let's get the crying thing to just lose them. I don't know what that is. Anyways, so the only thing different between first and second episode is the themes going on. And what I mean by that, in the pilot episode, we have at some point where the bad guys use a jewelry store as a way to sucker people in by lowering the prices ridiculously so. to have everybody run in to try to get as much jewelry as they can, and then in turn, when they throw this jewelry on, they end up getting their energy sucked out of them, and they end up touching all these cursed items that make them into lackeys for the monster of this episode, who ends up in the pilot episode being Naru's this character here, the redheaded character's mother. Naru, we come to find, is going to have her ma turn evil. And then eventually, Sailor Moon is going to have to go on and dispose of her, sadly enough. And I was like, okay, like that idea, that pilot idea, that actually is like, okay, all right, good idea, pretty good. It kind of reminded me of also Mighty Morphin Emo Rangers. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that, right? No. But yeah, the ideas of that, like every single episode has kind of like the same kind of repetitious kind of things going on with it, but like the monsters in each episode was kind of just unique for every episode. So it was like, okay, like I'm seeing like emo rangers in this also. So we get to the second episode. The second episode is, again, just very similar to the first, but for the first episode we had this character Umino, and he used to be kind of uh, this nerd brainiac kid who was doing well on his tests in the first episode, and is kind of putting the boots to Usagi in the first. But then Ali in the second one, they gave him more screen time, and it seems that Umino is to be really interested in Usagi, the girl who's Sailor Moon, and he's going on to eventually try to get his fortune told to see if he's going to end up with this girl, as well as also Usagi is to want to do the same, because we found out like fortune telling is the new hit thing going on in this town, because there's this old fortune teller who has this line going on forever, and then the villains are like, that seems like a good idea, that we can kind of set up shop for our own little thing, and kind of manipulate these people into coming in and giving them a tarot card reading, and then going on and slipping a card into them, into their shirts or into their clothes or into the whatever, and that turns him into the lackeys, and you end up seeing the card glow onto their chest, and you realize like, oh, okay, so they're going to eventually turn into the bad guys of this episode, and you see them creating more and more anarchy and chaos, and eventually we end up having them zombified and grouped together, and eventually face off against Sailor Moon. And Sailor Moon starts to further and further get the deck stacked against us, if we're going with card analogies here, because tarot cards. And this guy named Tuxedo Man just keeps coming in and just throwing this rose at a very specific time, and it somehow is to consistently help out Sailor Moon. We don't know why this tuxedo mask guy just keeps coming in and just throws this rose, and he's kind of oddly like either the Lone Ranger or just like this guy who has to just kind of just be this helper guy, and we don't know why. So like that would just be a thing where like I want to know why this character exists. Like hopefully there's an episode that focuses on him, but I doubt it. So we then, in the third episode, here's where things start to change. we have in the third episode this talk radio show that ends up getting controlled by the bad guys, because oddly enough, it seems we come to find that Usagi is to find this radio show very interesting for all these love letters. Come to find out, one of the people doing the love letters is actually her own teacher, and she's like, "Yeah, it can't be my own teacher going on and doing this love letter, even though the name is very similar." For Miss Harana, I believe is her name. So, come to find out, yeah, same Harana is to go on and be the one doing this love letter, and she gets this pendant, and the pendant ends up releasing uh, this thing that is sucking the energy out of this teacher, which puts her in a comatose like state. And the comatose like state goes on to be this new report going out, because Usagi's father will go on and find that, oh yeah, like it seems that there's this new report going out where people are becoming comatose, and like it seems to be like that seems to be a growing problem that's going on in town. I don't know. So we start to feel, that it's like, okay, there must be some kind of connection with this rose pendant to these kind of sleep cases, and they do. Immediately when they get the pendant sucks the energy out of them, and they turn comatose, and so people are all around just start falling asleep as they go on, and they end up writing these love letters, and they get posted on the radio. Usagi even goes on and is to be near one of the flowers, and she ends up getting attacked by it also, and turning comatose as well. But eventually, they figure out about the radio station causing these sleep cases. So they go after them. They find out that the DJ is causing all this, and the DJ ends up being uh, Jadeite, the guy that we've kind of seen in a number of episodes by this point now. And we have the confrontation between Sailor Moon and Jadeite. And really, if we were to go on and have Sailor Moon really have the deck kind of getting worse and worse as far as it gets stacked against her. In this third episode, we're like, man, yeah, like we're really having to go on and realize that Sailor Moon is going to have to figure out a way to step her game up, and not just have some certain device that just gives her disguise. No, like she has to go on, and she needs to turn into like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and start learning how to not only fight, but then also she needs to get more into her arsenal, because there's only so many times that Tuxedo Mask is going to go on and throw a rose to kind of break everything up. And why should she be ever so reliant on Tuxedo Mask to just continue to save her, Sailor Moon? Why not go on and be able to better herself? And even though she probably doesn't have the resources, still, yeah, like, and I get it also that Sailor Moon probably doesn't have the time. She probably is going to be so tired, because it seems like when we watch these 3 episodes, like she's always exhausted. So yeah, we'll see if this character ends up just getting better, or it's just she just keeps getting lucky. So we'll see how that plays out. If people are really interested in the show, I'll keep checking it out. How I felt about these 3 episodes so far. I feel that I'll say I'll say this one is a light okay. A pretty light okay. Like it's still a thumbs up, but like I also don't feel that 3 episodes is enough for this episode. So I'm hoping that this does go well, so I can watch more episodes to just kind of really get the feel of this. Just be like, okay, this really isn't worth my time because it's not getting better, or it's not getting this, or it's not getting that. But it would be interesting to see where this one goes. I would say that. So like I'm interested I'm interested in more. I really am. But this is this is these episodes were very simple, very like this is Sailor Moon, like this. This what is what becomes so many people wearing the costume, and like I've seen so much of this through like pulp culture everywhere, and I watch this now. I'm like, really, this thing? Okay. I don't quite get it. Maybe at some point I will, but right now I'm just not. I don't get why this is such a craze of seeing this costume everywhere. Um, yeah, like I'm also even thinking about like Moon Knight compared to like Sailor Moon, and I'm thinking like, yeah, Moon Knight is such an appealing character, and the crazy idea, and all the things they did with him. Whereas Sailor Moon is just this character that just falls into this whole superhero thing, and I'm just not quite getting it right now. Like why have this character kind of play out the way it does? Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so I think it's about that time to just push on and full on spoilers and break down to this episode. I think it's about that time. I already spent 22 minutes talking about this. So let me know in the comments below how you feel about Sailor Moon. If you were to have ever gone on to randomly find this show at some point, or to known anything about it, or whatever. For those of you that may have gone on and probably found this show to be either appealing or not appealing whatsoever, either way, just throw in your 2 cents about Sailor Moon, because it does make me go on and realize there is a comic section, there is people that go on and exist in it, and that's cool because eventually I'll be like, yay, cool, people said something about Sailor Moon. So yeah, I have never watched a iota of Sailor Moon before, so I just wanted to just check this out. I just had this feather in my cap to just be like, okay, I've gone on and seen so much of anime now that I can have Sailor Moon uh, be one of those things. So, with that said, I think it's about that time to break down fully of these episodes. So, with that said, I'm going to pause this here, get on my cast list of where I insist to be things to break down every single iota of these episodes. The second episode goes on and didn't have as much stuff with it as first and third. So there's going to be probably in the second episode where I'm going to have to condense things a lot more down than in first and third episode. But regardless, I'm going to try to do my best to break this all down. As you can see, I'm probably getting a little bit late in the game of getting tired. So hopefully I'll go on and I'll break this down. And hopefully I'll get this uploaded maybe today. Who knows? Maybe I'll probably go on and start falling and dozing off and falling asleep during this review, because that might happen. So, but that's it. I'm going to pause this here so I can whip everything that I need to whip out without a doubt to talk about all this. So let's pause here. Let's get all that out. All right, pilot episode is the Crybaby, Usagi's beautiful transformation. The Crybaby immediately is like, yeah, that doesn't sound like that's going to go very well. So, I've watched too many anime shows where people are crying. Yes. So, the very beginning of this goes on and is to give us an opening that we repetitiously see in almost every single episode. Like, we have to, interestingly enough, like, set this up as if people are randomly going to go on and find this show somewhere, and they need to know who this character is right away. So first off, we get oh, hi, my name is Usagi. I'm 14 years old and I go to middle school, and I'm a bit of a klutz and I'm a little emotional, and it's after 8 o'clock. Every single one of these episodes, we kind of find consistently that Usagi is going to sleep past her alarm, and she's late for school almost every day. So Usagi goes on and is to wake up yelling not again. She's running all over her house, realizing that her mother had not woken her up. Her mother had woken her up, had said multiple times, it's like, well, yeah, or had told her, like, well, yeah, multiple times I should wake you up, and you ignored it, so, well, like, you overslept. So while Usagi's running around getting ready for school, her mother is making her, and I know that her mother and her father have unique names, but I'm just gonna say Usagi's mother and father. They briefly end up getting used here, and if there's two less characters that can go on, and I have to say their exact names because I'm trying to not have to need to remember every single iota of every single character here, because it's hard enough to remember how to pronounce all these people's freaking names. But because yeah, I'm sorry. But anyways, so Usagi's mother is going on and letting her know, it's like, well, hey, I made your lunch. You're gonna take your lunch with you. So Usagi goes on, takes her lunch, and runs off to school. She yawns. She's very tired, and eventually, all of a sudden, as Usagi makes her way to school, she sees three boys who are all going on and being around this cat. Usagi kind of shoos these kids away, has them run off, and so now Usagi sees the cat. She picks up the cat and notices that the cat has a bandage over its head. Very curious, Usagi's like, okay, like, why do you have a bandage over your head? Like, okay, I'll just take it off. Because the cat seems to be very irksome about the fact that it has a band aid over its forehead. So Usagi takes the band-aid off and realizes that the cat has this bald spot, which is basically just this yellow moon on its forehead. Shortly thereafter that, the cat goes on and does like this flip away from Usagi and then lands on this car. And then it's on the hood of the car. It's like getting ever so closer to Usagi, and Usagi's like, okay. Like, if you're going to attack me, then I'm just going to leave. So Usagi makes her way to school, her middle school, and since she's to go on to realize that she did not be able to have any time to get any kind of breakfast, that she, considering she has her lunch there, she's just gonna chow down on that. So Usagi also mentions that since so many other kids end up getting to school on time and then she doesn't, it's not really her fault that she's always late. So we have Miss Harana. I hope that's pronouncing that name right. I'm sure I'm butchering the out of it because I'm like we only see this character so often. So, and if anything, at some point within like I think the third episode, I'll probably figure out that if I'm wrong or not. Miss Harana comes in and is to be upset with Usagi, and seeing that Usagi is late to class, helps Miss Harana understand why she's such a poor student, thrusting Usagi's test right in front of her face, saying that she had gotten 30, oh, 30%. Oh, how dare you get 30. So Usagi is now with Naru. Naru seems to be like said to, I guess. Oh yeah, they set up quite early here that the two of them are best friends. So it's like, okay, uh, you would probably think that Naru would probably end up being a Sailor Moon like Usagi is because best friend, right? But if anything, I don't think Naru ends up actually becoming a Sailor Moon of some kind, which is weird. But uh, we go on to eventually have Naru, who's to be surprised about Usagi is to go on and just kind of eat outside the class. And Usagi's like, well, hey, I'm a growing girl. And all of a sudden we have Umino that comes in. And eventually ends up asking about the test. And Usagi ends up mentioning that she had gotten a 30 on it. And Usagi just kind of throws it in her face, like, well, hey, I got a 95 and I really slacked off. Going on and throwing the test right in her face. And Umino is like, oh, well, it's just a test. So, so Naru changes the conversation and starts talking about Sailor V. And Usagi's like, Sailor V? Like, oh, I've heard so much about her. Yeah, I've never heard a thing about her. Usagi just lies about hearing anything about Sailor V. So Umino goes on and starts talking about how Sailor V is a costume crime fighter who probably works for the Special Investigation Unit, and she fights crime in the evil parts of town. And we get to see Sailor V, and yeah, it looks very much like Usagi, but like she's wearing much more of like a thing over her face. So it's like slightly tweakingly different than actually Usagi is. And I'm just like trying to figure out why in my brain noggin. So they go on to state that Sailor V had gone on to stop a jewelry heist at some point recently, and Naru and Usagi's like, well, yeah, it'd make a lot of sense that the bad guys would want to go on and get jewelry because who wouldn't want to go on and have rubies or diamonds or yeah, who yeah. And so Usagi and Naru are just going on and on about jewelry, and then Naru is like, well, hey, yeah, uh like my mother is working at her jewelry store and she's throwing these like amazing deals, so maybe we should go on and we should go to her place because she'll go on and she'll have such good deals that we can actually afford them ourselves. And Usagi's like, oh yeah, yeah, let's go. So the whole time Naru and Usagi are talking about jewelry, like we have Namino in the background, he's just like girls talking about jewelry, and also, uh, he wishes that that school is over already. So, anyways, pushing on. We now have uh, Queen uh, Queen Burrow. Tells you how much I quickly remember how the pronouncing on this name is, at least. I guess I can't retain everything. We have Queen Burrell that is going on in the Dark Kingdom, and she's questioning the progress of the legendary Silver Crystal. Going on, it'll take 2 episodes to go on and be asking if they have the Silver Crystal yet, which they still don't have it. So the queen goes on and says, like, well, hey, since we can't go on and find any crystals to be used as an energy source for the great ruler, then we have to go on and find human energy in the meantime. So we have this character Jadite who goes on to appear in front of the queen, and he's going to go on and step up and state that he already has a plan going with a monster named Morgan, who we'll find out is Naru's mother. Yeah. And so we have that plan going on, and Jadite is stating to the queen that he won't fail her. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Because the queen is going to leave everything up to Jadite, and sees and she'll oversee what happens. So now we transition to the jewelry store. There's a number of people that are all going on and getting necklaces and getting earrings on, and so we have Usagi and we have Nero who make their way to the jewelry store, hoping that they're not too late. So Nero goes on to come to find her mother kind of being a little bit different than usual. That she has this like megaphone, and she's going through the store, and Nero is just kind of like, yeah, like this is kind of unlike my mother. And Usagi's like, well, hey, maybe she's just become more business oriented than she has been. So Nero's mother goes on to start talking about how she has the finest jewelry and that everything's on sale. And then all of a sudden we see kind of the shadow start to appear over Naru's mother, and then that's where we really find out that it's Morga, which I'll go on from here on out and probably just call her Morga because it'd be easier. Morga goes on and is to be like, yeah, foolish humans, uh, take the jewelry and give all your energy to the great ruler. We start to see these earrings, we start to see this ring, and we just see this huge diamond. And it's all getting like funneled in to all these jewelry, because all these jewelries will be these cursed items that eventually will have this jewelry go into funnel to, again, the great ruler. So we then have Jadeite. Jadeite is kind of watching from distance and is seeing all the energy start to funnel. And Jadeite is immediately thinking that he's going to win here, or he's going to be successful. And he's assuming that Queen Beryl will be pleased by the success of the way things are going. And he's going on and whispering sweet nothings to Morga, like, hey, keep going, like, your progress is doing well, blah, 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 blah. So we have Morga that bumps into both Usagi and Naru, and Morga's like, oh, kids, like, oh, I'm glad you came. And so we have Usagi, who's like, oh, hey, Naru's mom. So Naru's mother is like, well, hey, it's nice to see you visit the store. It's about crowded now, but please take your time, look around. Naru's mother mentions it's like, well, yeah, I'll go on out, and Usagi will even give you a even better discount, like, just because, like, you're my daughter's best friend. I'll give you a really good discount. Like, I guess this is even more than the friends and family discount, because, man, she really cut her prices. So Naru's mother goes on to get behind this jewelry counter, and she takes this ring out, and it's 500,000. And she shows this to Usagi and Naru, and she goes on to say, yeah, this is a 500,000 ring, but I'm going to give it to you for 30,000. And Usagi and Naru is like, wait a minute, what? You want to give me for what price? And all of a sudden we have one, this is the only way I can describe this woman. So I apologize if this is to really be a thing that'll probably be like, what the? You have to really describe this woman as this? Yeah, I kind of have to. It's more bigger woman is to smash both Usagi and Naru out of the way, to then plead to Naru's mom to want the ring, and then a number of all people start to thrust their way to the counter, all demanding the ring also for that price. Usagi and Naru, for how kind of piled in they were, end up sliding underneath all the people to get away from that crowd. And Naru and Usagi can't believe the pricing, but then also we have Usagi's like, man, I really want that ring, and Naru is like, well, do you really think that you can go on, and do you really think that you can really actually afford this? Because, like, will your parents actually kind of lend you the money? Uh, like, do you think that you can use your allowance with this? I'm like, your allowance? Like, holy like, how much allowance is she getting? But also Naru is like, well, yeah, like, think of also, like, the test that you just failed. Do you really think your parents are going to go on and give you money for this ring? I don't think it's going to happen. So Usagi is realizing how much that this test is really going to affect her life going forward. So Usagi doesn't want to go on and bring this test home. If anything, she's just so very tempted to just ball the test up and chuck it behind her. And she does this while outside the store because she realizes that she's not going to probably get the ring because her parents are probably not going to accept her getting the ring because she had failed this test. So Usagi ends up going on to chuck this piece of paper, and it ends up falling on somebody. It ends up falling on none other than Mamaru. Mamaru Chiba, who is to actually be Tuxedo Mask. There's probably going to be no way that I'm going to remember Mamaru Chiba, but I can probably remember Tuxedo Mask. So every time there is probably to be Tuxedo Mask outside of his mask, I'll probably have to figure out that it's maybe Mamaru, but anyways. So we had the flinging of the test by Usagi, and it ends up getting slapped in the face of Mamaru, and we consistently keep seeing this happen at some point where Usagi just keeps going on and having horrible things happen because she's a klutz or because really she's not looking or whatever. So Mamaru ends up getting slapped this test, and so Mamaru looks at the piece of paper and he tells Usagi, hey, maybe you should study better next time, bunhead. And so, yeah, so Mamaru ends up going and calling Usagi bunhead, and Usagi goes on to be upset with this guy for paying so much attention to this piece of paper. It's like, hey, that's none of your business. And so she grabs the test back and takes it with her. And Usagi goes on and does the whole tongue wagging thing, and storms off because now she's even more upset. So, also making fun of the fact that this guy has purple pleated pants, and then kind of does a double take and like calls him a weirdo, but also just like, there's something about this guy. So Usagi all of a sudden goes on and makes her way to this game center, this arcade, and notices that there's a poster for there already being a Sailor V video game. And then eventually we'll come to find, I think in the second episode, Usagi's playing the Sailor V video game in the second episode with Kawas, or I'm going to eventually get his name later on. So, it's the Game Crown, I think, is the arcade that she's looking at. So Usagi goes on to just kind of in her mind see Sailor V, and Usagi contemplates how probably Sailor V has no worries in the world, and she bets that Sailor V feels super awesome. And here's where Luna comes in. As Usagi is having to realize that she needs to bring her test home. Luna goes on to say to Usagi, like, at last I found you, and then we roll to a transitional thing. Luna doesn't go on and say this right in front of Usagi. Eventually, Luna will follow. If you guys don't know who Luna is the cat. Luna will follow Usagi home and then talk to her there. So Usagi makes her way home to talk to her mother, and it's interesting. Yeah, it was Umino. I was right. So Usagi talks to her mother, and her mother brings up that she had met up with Umino, who had done really well on his test. Like, yeah, of course he has to brag about that. And so in turn, Usagi's mother ends up asking her, it's like, well, hey, like, if Umino did so well on this test, how well did you do? And so now, like, Usagi's just like, God dang it, Uno, like, or Umino. So, uh, Usagi is trying to figure a way out of this, trying to, like, maybe she's thinking about lying, maybe she's thinking about just how could I stall. But eventually, Usagi does go on and hand over the paperwork and and be truthful to her mother. Immediately after that, her mother goes on and boots her out of the house and tells her to go outside and think about her not doing well in school. Wouldn't that be the dumb thing? Honestly, what Asagi should have done is she should have been forced to go to her room so that way she could study her books or something like that. Not go outside and think about, yeah, that seems like a dumb response. So Usagi's outside just smacking on the door, wanting to come back in. All of a sudden, we come to find Shingo, who is her brother, kind of hazing Usagi. It's like, uh, what what did you do to have mom kick you out this time, huh? Calling her a total loser and everything like that. So eventually, Shingo gets in the door and gives Usagi like a like a goofy face for his trouble. So Usagi goes on and knees the door and then realizes what a mistake that was. But she's just so ticked off at her brother, Shingo. So Usagi at this point is crying out for her mother to get back in the house. So the next thing we see is back at the jewelry store. We're seeing a number of people all make their way through getting more and more jewelry. We finally have one person who's to mention how strange she feels and how dizzy she is and how weak she feels. And I think this is Naru. Uh, Naru goes on to say, like, well, yeah, it seems that everybody in the jewelry store is starting to get sick. Should we call an ambulance? And Naru's mother is going on like, well, yeah, I think this is enough energy for now. And Naru is kind of a little bit confused, like, okay, like Naru, like, Naru's mother, what are you talking about? Naru's mother turns to Naru, and her face is like just horrific. It's like, yeah, like her skin tone like changes from almost like a dark gray or just like a very shadowy version of herself. And I guess for Naru, like this is very different than how her mother usually looks. So we have Naru's mom that goes on and eventually will grab Naru and start choking her. But anyways, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So now back with Usagi. Usagi is so exhausted from her day of school, and if anything, she's pondering about taking a nap instead of doing her homework. So here's where Luna comes in and kind of starts to kind of jab at Usagi to kind of wake her up here. Usagi gets up and is like, "Oh yeah, you're the cat with the bald spot," and so the cat immediately goes on to tell Usagi it's not a bald spot, and Usagi freaks out. Like, "Oh my god, you're a cat! You're a cat that talks! Oh my god!" So the cat goes on to explain that her name is Luna, and Luna has been looking for Usagi for a very long time for some reason, and she wanted to thank Usagi for helping her out with that whole situation with the boys, uh, and getting the band-aids off of her forehead, because that was cutting off her sensory powers, whatever that means for Luna. I have no idea what that means. And Luna is just assuming that she must be dreaming at some point to just see this cat speaking to her. It doesn't make sense. So she thrusts her head back down on the bed, assuming that she's gonna just pretend to sleep now. And Luna is telling her, "Hey, stop playing around. Like, I'll prove it to you that this isn't a dream." So Luna goes on and is to make this kind of medallion appear. This kind of gold coin piece, and ends up giving it to uh, Usagi to wear. So Usagi states that it's beautiful, and so Luna tells Usagi that she needs to listen to her, and she's saying that she needs her attention because the city is becoming ever more dangerous, and Usagi needs to go on and handle the problems of the city. And there are dangerous enemies that are appearing, and Usagi needs to be the one to defeat them. Because evidently Usagi is the chosen guardian uh, for missions. So Usagi is to say how cool that is, and also not exactly believing anything that really Luna is to say here. So, but if anything, is to say that she does. So, Luna is to tell Usagi that she needs to transform now, and she needs a certain number of phrases to be able to do so. And so, Luna goes on to tell Usagi, okay, you gotta say the words moon, prism, power, makeup. And Luna needs to go on and do this certain stance. She needs to kind of have her hand way up in the air and say these words, and then immediately, shortly thereafter, transformation happens. Now Usagi is to go on and have seemingly a more gold, bejeweled thing upon her forehead, and her outfit is slightly tweakingly different than she had been in prior. Not quite exactly different enough, but I guess enough for it to have people not exactly know the difference between Sailor Moon and Usagi for some odd reason. So we now all of a sudden have her buns. Her buns are going on, and all of a sudden sounding off whatever problem is happening in town, and it's coming from Naru. Naru is saying that she's in trouble and that she needs help. Usagi, overhearing this, is realizing that her friend is in trouble and that she needs her help. And oh, it's Maru. I said that wrong. I thought it was Naru. I'm not going to go on it and go through this whole thing to just fix a name. I'm sorry. At least I was freaking close. So Usagi doesn't really understand what's going on or why she has to be. Oh, I guess it was Naru. At some points it's Maru, and sometimes it's Naru. Whatever. I'm gonna stick with Naru because if I'm wrong, then it is what it is. So Usagi doesn't understand why she has this ability. She doesn't understand why she's healing her friend right now. And Luna is to explain to Usagi, it's like, well, you can do all these things now because you're Sailor Moon, and go and help out your friend. Like, to me, I don't think just explain to me that I'm Sailor Moon now is gonna definitively just say, oh yeah, like, that's the reason why I can go on and have all these special abilities. That's why I can just transform and have a completely different costume that's slightly tweakingly doesn't make me any different than who I was before. Anyways, so Naru is screaming out help, please, as she's getting goozled. She's getting choked here. Naru is stating that she can't breathe. What are you doing? Naru is trying to convince her mother to stop what she's doing, and Naru's mother is saying, well, I'm not your mother, you pathetic little girl. And so finally, we have Naru's mom that transforms into Margot. And Margot, wow, quite a bit of ugliness going on in here. It kind of reminds me of, I want to say either Sleepwalkers or Skinwalker. I want to say Sleepwalkers. There's a Stephen King movie, I think, called Sleepwalkers, where we have eventually the characters who turn into much more of like a cougar or a much more like animalistic looking species of race or whatever, and eventually they have certain abilities and certain skills. That's what this kind of character kind of looks like. So Margot ends up explaining what had happened to Maru's mother and explained how she locked her away into a basement, and after Maru's done killing Naru's herself, she'll go on and finish up Naru's mother afterwards. Because she's going to go on and send them both to the world of the dead, whatever that means. Um, Maybe that's where the Dark Kingdom is. So, we have off in the distance Sailor Moon coming in to rescue Naru, saying, "Get away from Naru." Alright. We have Margot that ends up completely, like, Exorcist spinning her neck around, but her like, I was like, wow, this is really cool. To see this character kind of spin the neck the way around that she does. And Margot ends up saying to Sailor Moon, "Who might you be?" And you would probably think that, like, Sailor V or Sailor Moon probably have a reputation now, but I guess she doesn't. So, well, I guess she's still starting off. She's still like a rookie. So, Sailor Moon goes on to say, "I am the pretty, pretty guardian who fights for love and for justice. I am Sailor Moon. And now, in the name of the moon, I'll punish." Oh, okay, so that's what she says. She says that in every. In the name of the moon, I will punish you. I thought it was like, for the power, from the power of the moon, I will protect. No, she says, "I will punish you." But that's in the name of the moon, I will punish you. That's a phrase. That's a phrase that pays, I guess, for the show. Doing a lot of these going on. So I was so close, so close. Oh no, no. So we have Margot that ends up asking Sailor Moon if that phrase of hers should be a thing that actually scares her. And eventually she goes on and awakens all of her minions, all of her women that had gone on to put on jewelry to awaken and attack Sailor Moon. So Sailor Moon is to realize that all these people are going to try to kill her now. And Sailor Moon has no iota of a skill whatsoever. And Sailor Moon ends up getting attacked with a beer bottle being broken off and being lunged at her. We have people just lunging at her, and Sailor Moon is just dodging all this. And Sailor Moon ends up realizing that her knee is bleeding. She's like, "Oh my god, I'm bleeding! Like, what am I gonna do?" And so Luna pops out of the shadows, like, "Well, what are you doing?" uh, like you've got to attack and you got to focus on the monster. Like, who cares about any of these lackey characters? You got to go after the monster and take it down. So Margot is appearing over on high over all the women as Sailor Moon is now crying. Sailor Moon is too scared. She's to be so concerned about, like, how did I get myself into this? She just wants to go home. And as Margot is to go on and do her final strike, we all of a sudden have the rose come flying out of nowhere from Tuxedo Mask. Margot ends up turning to look at who is the one to have thrown the rose, asking who exactly is this tuxedo wearing fella. Tuxedo Mask answers with, "I am a man known as Tuxedo Mask. Sailor Moon, you have to remember that crying isn't going to solve any of your problems." Well, it's gonna. It kind of is gonna solve her problems because Tuxedo Man is gonna come in and just help her. Uh, And Sailor Moon goes on to be like, well, I can't help it. And so she's like, ah, she continues to cry, because of course she does. So, weirdly enough, though, Usagi goes on and goes to cry, and then all of a sudden it seems that a number of things are just kind of weirdly shaking here. And I don't know why it's working, but it seems that there's some weird earthquake going on. It's weird. So Luna tells Usagi that now is the chance to call upon her tiara and yell the words Moon Tiara Action. So here is where Usagi does her ultimate attack to wipe out the monster, which is very weird. Because I'm like, okay, I'm sort of like, so this is basically the equivalent of in Power Rangers. We would have the Megazord come in, and this is like basically to the point of the Megazord battle of the show now, where we'd always have the sword that comes slicing through, and that's the ultimate attack, and that wipes out the monster in every episode. There are sometimes there are some exceptions where there are some seasons where instead of a sword, it's fists, or because I've been recently watching season 3, and so now it's like the fist coming in and pow pow, and in some other seasons there's like a gun that comes in and fires off, and yeah, instead of a blade, but in most cases it's blade. So, but in this example, we have Tiara that comes like like Wonder Woman. Like the Tiara comes off. I think the Tiara was an attack that was used in the Wonder Woman show. That was a weapon oddly used. Every once in a while, there is the Tiara that ends up getting used as a weapon. Blah blah blah, whatever. But anyways, so the Tiara ends up getting taken off by Usagi as like a disc attack, and it ends up wiping out Margot. And now Jadite realizes that Margot had failed him, and now he's just really upset. We see, oddly enough, like Margot, who comes off as like ashes falling onto the ground, and we then have Tuxedo Man that's like, well done, Sailor Moon. I won't soon forget what happened here tonight. Uh, and Luna ends up telling Sailor Moon, yeah, you did great. And Sailor Moon is just all focusing on Tuxedo Mask, like, oh, he's cute. So, oddly enough, the next thing we see back at the middle school, we have a number of all these girls that are all going on, and they're talking about this dream because they can't really believe it's real. They'd all gone on to talk about how they were all at this um, this jewelry store, and they were all with this superhero named Sailor Moon, and she was facing off against this hideous monster. And another girl goes on like, "Oh yeah, you had that story, you had that dream. So did I. The exact same story, and verbatim." And so eventually they're shaking Usagi. It's like, well, hey, isn't that weird that we all had the same dream? And Usagi's like, well, hey, could you guys just be quiet? Like, I really just am incredibly tired, so I just want a little shut eye. So Usagi is to go on and get some sleep here, and then we go into the second episode, which is to be called uh, Punish Them. The House of Fortune is the Monster Mansion. I guess that is the second title of the episode. I didn't really read that because feasibly this second episode doesn't have subtitles, so I had to go by the IMDb description. So in the second episode, it gives us a recap of the first, explaining who this character is. it goes through the like, well, hey, like I'm Usagi, I'm 14 years old, I'm in a middle school, like the same thing goes in the first episode. So the second episode starts off with the old fortune teller, and we have a number of girls that starts lining up. Eventually, it'll be guys and girls and whatever, but still. So these girls start lining up at this old fortune teller, and all of a sudden there ends up being this way stretched out line that follows. And Jadite ends up being towards the end of that said line, and more girls are to go on and follow after Jadite. So Jadite is to realize how seemingly popular this thing is going. Like, maybe I should use this as an idea. All right. So the next thing we see is Queen Beryl, and she's going on and saying to her subjects like, "Hey, have we found the silver crystal yet?" Which of course they go on and they say no. So Queen Beryl is hoping that there's going to be another scheme that's going to give her more human energy, and so uh, we cut to Usagi here. Usagi is in her bed, and we'll eventually come to find that Luna is going to try and wake her up and try to get her up for school at the right time instead of her being late like she usually is. So Luna is trying to wake up Usagi. It'll even get to the point where Luna is wanting to have Usagi go to sleep at a proper time so that way like she can sleep better or sleep more and also not be late for school for once. So Luna gets on top of Usagi's body with with Usagi being underneath these bed sheets. And it gets to the point where Usagi can't breathe, and then notices Luna, and then notices that it's 8 o'clock, and Usagi's like, "Well, hey, why didn't you wake me up?" And so Usagi starts getting quickly ready for school, and Luna is just like, "Oh my god." Ugh. So Usagi tries to make her way to school. She's, of course, very late. Miss Harana goes on and is doing roll call and ends up calling Umino, and he's like, okay, I'm present here. So eventually Usagi is coming in hoping that she can sneak into class, and eventually Miss Harana notices Usagi's there and is to kind of just throw her out of class because of course her being late and so on and so forth. So oddly enough, Usagi follows or is being followed out of class by Umino, and Usagi eventually goes on to ask Umino why exactly he's out there next to her. And Umino can't exactly explain why, but eventually he'll tell Naru why he had gone on to do this. So Naru will go on and find Usagi later on and will run to him and will eventually ask like, well, hey, why were you by Usagi the way you were? And Umino is like, well, yeah, I finally want to go on and I want to admit to Usagi that I have feelings for her, that I'm attracted to her. And Umino mentions that he wants to go on and he wants to pass a diary to Usagi so they can kind of pass letters to one another. So at some point, Umino can meet Usagi's parents and everything. Just like hopes that in hopes that Umino is going to be Usagi's boyfriend. And so Umino is like, well, hey, like, one way you can go on and figure out if you're going to end up with Usagi? Fortune telling. And Umino's like, well, yeah, I have this video game called The Fortune Teller, and it's telling me that me and Usagi are going to get married and this and that. And like this video game, yeah, it's telling me everything I need to know. And Nero's like, no, not some stupid video game. Like, if anything, you need to go on and you need to go to an actual fortune teller to get your fortune actually told. And so Umino's like, oh, okay. So Usagi's making her way through town, and Usagi goes on to make her way to the old man, or the old fortune teller, the old man, the guy who was to have this very long line. And so Usagi ends up asking the old fortune teller why exactly he doesn't have a long line anymore. And the old fortune teller says, well, there was a business that just cropped up that was the House of Fortune, and they took all my business. So, like, now I can't go on, and now, like, no one cares about me uh, giving them their fortune. And Usagi's like, well, hey, since they took all your business, like, I'm willing for you at least to, how about you read my palm or read my fortune? So the old man starts to smile. It's like, okay, I'll go and I'll do so. He goes on and he has his magnifying glass and he starts reading her fortune. So Usagi ends up getting told by this old man that there is a boy that does go on and like her, and Usagi takes this information. Is like, I wonder who it could be. Could it be Tuxedo Mask? Like, who could it be? I'm curious. So and we'll also find that Umino is going into the House of Fortune to get his fortune told, which that should be the guy that Usagi should realize is to be interested in her. So we now have Usagi, who is walking by this game center, and she's making her way into this game center, hoping that maybe her true love is going to be at this game center. And instead, she ends up bumping into this guy who's um, Mo Motauki Motaki. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Usagi meets with Otaki and eventually is to tell her that there is a Sailor V game inside, and she could be the first one to have tested it. So Usagi goes in to start playing this game, and she's trying to play it as best as she can, but eventually she realizes how not good at it she is. So Motaki comes in and starts telling her the strategy, that there's a secret to the game, telling her all these strategies and tells her how to beat the game. And as Usagi starts getting these secrets and starts playing this game with this guy, it seems that there's a bit of attraction there. And then all of a sudden, Luna appears, and Usagi's like, "Really, Luna? Like, really? Like, You want to go on and bother me now? So Luna goes on and grabs the wrist of Usagi and is like not letting go, to the point to where like Usagi is trying to get rid of Luna and she can't because she's really latched on. So Usagi realizes that she has to leave and she has to um, make her way outside for her to talk to Luna. And so Usagi says her goodbyes to Matauki and uh, so let me pause here for a second. All right, so Luna is talking to Usagi, and Usagi is going on and focusing on realizing that she wanted to get the full fortune telling by the old man. So Usagi goes back to try to find the old man, and he has completely vanished. And so Usagi is looking at the House of Fortune. He's like, well, hey, maybe I can get my fortune told by the House of Fortune. And so Usagi goes on and takes her shoe and says, like, okay, I'm going to flip this shoe in the air. And however it falls, if it falls a certain way, then I'll go on into the House of Fortune. So Usagi chucks her shoe in the air and it ends up landing on guess who? It ends up landing on uh Moror Mamora I believe. Chiba. Chiba. It ends up landing right on his head. So Chiba ends up upset, of course, with Usagi goes on and gives her back her shoe. And it's kind of funny later because eventually both Usagi and Naro will get together, and Naro will say how cute Chiba is, and Usagi will tell Naro, it's like, no, 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 that guy is not cute. Like, if anything, that guy is rude, that guy is this, blah, 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 blah. So, the next thing we see as Usagi is walking away after again uh, having like Chiba call her bunhead and all these kind of insults and what have you. I apologize if I'm really rushing through the scene because I don't have the best memory of it either. So, if anything, you'll have to kind of reflect back on the episode because not all of this I could easily retain all of it. So, I'm trying to figure out a way to best get through this scene, anyways. So, the next thing we see is the House of Fortune, and there's a number of people waiting in line to get their cards told. One of them is Yushi, which will eventually see him in class later on, next to a girl. So we see a tarot card reader here, and this will be the character known as Balm. Balm will go on and be in the second episode the next monster. So Balm is starting to go on and read tarot cards of Umino, and eventually we'll start to see these tarot cards go up, and then eventually we'll have one card in the middle. The card in the middle will be the Devil card. I had to kind of quickly pause at the very right time and find out, yeah, this is the Devil card. So The devil card ends up going flying to Umino. It ends up going uh into his kind of in between his like buttoned up part of his shirt, and Umino ends up easily getting control here, hypnotized into being controlled. So the next thing we see is Usagi. I think she's making her way home here, and she bumps into her own father. Her father is to go on and be like, "Oh, who Usagi? Oh yeah, yeah." So Usagi, it seems, is going on to get groceries because he doesn't want Usagi's mother to kind of do too many things and kind of feels responsible for that. So Usagi thinks that it's wonderful that her dad is kind of is taking it upon himself to kind of do the groceries, and so oddly enough, Usagi's looking at her own father as she looked at Motaki earlier, and is hoping that maybe Usagi is hoping that her father and Motaki are to go on and be kind of very like-minded in the ways of which that they would want to go on and do nice things for women. So Usagi's dad is like, well, hey, how about you and me? Like, we both come on home, and like, I'm sure your mother's worried sick, blah blah blah. So they start walking home, and then all of a sudden they notice that the cat is following them, Luna, and the dad is like, hey, like this cat seems to be following you, and Usagi's like, well, yeah, like the cat is actually my friend, and the dad is like, well, yeah, I don't know if your mom will like allow cats in here, but I don't know. So yeah, so the next thing we see is Usagi making her way to middle school. She ends up talking to Naro. Naro ends up saying like, well, hey, has Umino talked to you yet? And Usagi's like, what are you talking about? Naro goes on to tell Usagi, it's like, well, yeah, like Marino or Umino, he likes you, and like he wanted to tell you that. And Usagi's like, that guy, no. So we all of a sudden have Umino, who has completely changed his wardrobe. He's wearing like suit and ties, and he's wearing a blazer, like a four-piece suit almost, except for without the vest, but still. Uh, Umino comes in all flashy, and he's not in school uniform, but it doesn't really matter because he's Umino. So here's my question, because I'm not really familiar with this kind of setup. Like, to me, the lockers that both Usagi and Naro are in, these lockers specifically look like a girls' locker room kind of locker. But strangely enough, like, I guess this has both girls and guys surrounding it, so I guess maybe lockers in Japan for schools are very different than lockers in like America, because in America, like our lockers are like 4 times the size of this. Like our lockers are huge, um, in most places except for in like gym locker rooms where it's like, yeah, the lockers are very small most of the time. Or if you are working like retail, they do at some points give us lockers in some stores, but yeah, it's very small. It's like lockers like this. So, but anyways, Umino comes in and starts laying it on really thick for Usagi, like touches her shoulder, and all of a sudden Miss Harana comes in and starts yelling at Umino, and Umino just starts eating this thing of bread, and I don't know what Umino exactly does here, but what ends up happening, I think he slaps Miss Samana, or he does something to where her dress goes flying up and you can see her panties, and Umino walks off, and we again see his card glowing through his blazer to still realize that he's evil here. So here's where the second episode where Miss Harana starts crying. So we get crying again here. So Miss Harana feels humiliated, and so she drops down to her knees and she starts crying for how Umino had just humiliated her in front of the students by just kind of upping up her skirt. So Umino is now reading this book in class. We're going to focus on him here. Because Miss Harana is to start to get more and more annoyed with Umino, making her way to him, and eventually she gets tripped by Yushi. Eventually, Miss Harana is to go on and be upset that Yushi had tripped her, and eventually Yushi will go on and humiliate Miss Harana, and eventually the next thing we'll go on and we'll see is both Usagi and Narana outside going on and watching Umino and a number of other students all go on and take rocks and bash one of the teacher's windows. And we'll all start to see that their tarot cards within their blazers or shirts or whatever will start to glow. And we'll see Bomb, who's just kind of waiting out in the building, just kind of realizing that the energy is getting kind of like used away here, or being siphoned away from these kids, and to be used to just do evil tasks and stuff like that. So here's again where Jadeite will realize that Bomb's work is doing well. Very happy, very pleased. Usagi will go on and confront Umino and stop him from throwing these rocks at these windows. And Umino in turn will want a kiss from Usagi. Hey, give me a kiss. And Usagi will of course be blushing heavily, and she'll get to a point where she is going to start just crying. Crying so much so that Umino and the kids that are around her are wanting to just plug their ears and just not hear her anymore. So eventually they all walk off. Luna will go on and start to notice things and start to notice these kids. So Naru will go on and stop Usagi from crying. It's like, well, hey, they left already, and then Usagi will feel better. So I think Luna will go on and Luna will figure out about the whole House of Fortune thing right here. I think Luna will go on and figure out that Umino and uh, and Yushi will have gone on to that same tarot card reading place at the House of Fortune and assume that there is something off about the House of Fortune that Usagi needs to investigate. Hence, why next Usagi is going to go to the House of Fortune to get her fortune read. So, or see what's up about this whole place. So, Usagi makes her way into the House of Fortune, and she immediately transforms after that. The whole thing is she completely forgets what the phrase is that she has to say before she transforms, so she ends up asking Luna about it, where of course she gives her the phrase, and then so she transforms. Bomb goes on to have all the boys around her, and we again see that all of the people all have these cards on them. So Sailor Moon comes into fray here, and we have Bomb who starts to kind of use. She's like almost like Gambit from X Men. If you guys know Gambit from X Men, like these cards don't glow with like pink energy like Gambit does, but uh, what ends up happening here is that Bomb ends up using these cards, and she starts just throwing all the cards, and they're hitting uh, these these uh, Sailor Moon is it's because this is Sailor Moon now. Sailor Moon is going on and kind of dodging these cards as they're falling, and at one point, one of the cards almost hit Sailor Moon in the face, and Sailor Moon says, "Hey, that almost hit me in the face." And Luna's like, "Well, hey, yeah, that's the point. She's evil. She's trying to kill you." So we have Bomb now turn into the monsterish version of herself, and now Umino and all of the boys are all turning into zombified versions of themselves. They all turn green here. So the boys all start to like Thriller. They straight up are all like Thriller, Thriller. Yeah, they're all thrilling. They're all thrilling it up. They go on to start surrounding around Sailor Moon, and here's where yet another Rose comes in. Rose comes flying in, hits a ball in the face, and all of a sudden, all of the boys who are now surrounding Usagi, they all of a sudden briefly stop. We then have Sailor Moon, who realizes that Tuxedo Mask is on the scene, and Usagi goes on and thanks Tuxedo Mask, and Tuxedo Mask leaves. Usagi's like, "Oh my god, she's so beautiful." Blah, blah, blah. So Usagi then goes on and turns her attention back to Bomb, the monster, as of course Bomb starts to do these attacks with her hair, and the ends of her hair is to be these hands that have these giant, massive claws. So Usagi is dodging these huge hair claw attacks that are thrusting their way through the ground. Eventually, they're going to eventually connect to this wall and claw their way through this wall. Eventually, what'll have to happen here will be like, of course, as per usual, the tiara, the tiara action move, and eventually, uh, Sailor Moon will go on and take the tiara, chuck it, and disintegrate another monster bomb into dust, and eventually there'll be a dropping of a tarot card. Shortly thereafter that, all the tarot cards of all the boys will all get destroyed, and they'll go back to normal. With also Jadite realizing that, oh man, Bomb had failed me, just like, of course, the other Margot of the first episode. We have now Umino talking to Naro. Umino did not have much control of what he was doing as he was eval, so eventually Umino is to go on and ask Naro what exactly he had all done because he doesn't have a memory of it. Naru will go on and start explaining about all the horrible things that he'd gone on to do with Miss Harana, and kind of lifting up her skirt, and also trying to force Usagi into a kiss, and everything in between. And Umino will realize, oh man, I did so many horrible things. Like, there's nothing left to do now. Like, so Umino is to just walk off, and he immediately bumps into Usagi. And so Umino goes on and apologizes for everything that he'd gone on to do. And so after that whole transgression, the last thing we end up seeing is Usagi goes on and she trips and she falls over. And credits roll shortly thereafter that. So we then end up getting the third episode. Hopefully I can get this done in just 2 hours. That would be nice. The third episode, The Mysterious Sleeping Sickness, Protect the Girls in Love. I actually really liked this episode. Just because I liked the whole talking radio idea. I know it's old fashioned, but maybe I'm just an old fashioned guy. Plus, also, I used to go on and at some point, I really did listen to the radio at some points. Now I think it's kind of like a bygone thing. Now, considering we have like YouTubes and stuff like that, like there's a lot less of listening to the radio. But at one point, I used to watch or I used to listen to a certain radio station because they'd have a lot of rock music, and there'd be a time where I'm like, okay, this was at a point of time of for me cassette players. Now we have like CDs, or now we have like YouTube, or now we have like iPods or whatever. But yeah, there was a time, folks, where there was cassette tapes, and I would just listen to the radio, and if there was like a really cool song on, I would I would record it, and yeah, I probably wouldn't get the whole song, but then sometimes I just kind of go into the radio and just kind of tape these random songs, just so we can have them, so I can just listen to them later. So yeah, so just kind of it'd be kind of like you'd wait on the radio just to see if they would play another song again, and like that would be cool. It's where you can like, okay, I'm gonna record this radio doing this one song, so I can kind of keep this song on me. So that's what we would kind of do, old fashioned wise. Anyways, so the beginning of the episode starts like all the others, with Usagi mentioning what her name is, that she's from middle school, that she's 14 years old, that she's a klutz, that she's emotional, da 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 da. So that she had met a cat named Luna. Yeah, so the third episode goes on to have Queen Burrell ask Jadeite how things are going and ask if he has collected enough human energy to offer the Great Ruler. And Jadeite says, well, yeah, it seems that everything is going as planned, and that our success will truly be assured. And Jadeite is working on a plan, and he gets how often that, like, Sailor Moon has interrupted in the past, but if anything, Jadeite does have a secret monster, Flower, and he feels that this point he's a lot more confident in this fight, in this route that he's going into. Yeah, a lot. Just like he's setting up that he's gonna have a better plan this time around, but it's gonna again not go well. So the queen is to say, it's like, well, hey, like, keep it in mind that everything that you're doing, like, everything that we're trying to do is resting on your shoulders, so you better not fail us this time. So the next thing we see is a radio tower, and then we end up seeing a cassette player, a boombox of sorts. So it's been a while since I've had an actual stereo of any kind. It's been a number of years. So I'm trying to figure out what exact term of this is, of what this exactly device is that Usagi has here. Let me know in the comments below what is the exact frame of way in which that I can present this, but I'm going to just say stereo. So, because boombox is slightly tweakingly different. But anyways, so Usagi is listening to the stereo, and she's listening to this DJ go on and talk about this love letter, about diaries, memories of the past, and that she wants to see someone again, even if it's just once, so I can tell you how I really feel deep inside my heart. The last letter came from a pen name, uh, Haryana the Dreamer, who lives in Jubongai, whatever that is. So the DJs to go on and to have read this letter, and it's coming from Miss Harana, and Usagi's like, well, wait a minute, like, Miss Harana, that's my teacher. That can't be the exact same Harana, is it? Yeah, it ends up being the exact same. So Usagi is to not think that her teacher is to have been the one writing a love letter and having it being sent to this radio station, because she's probably too old for sappy stuff like this. But if anything, it actually, like, Harana does reveal by the end of the episode that, yeah, she does love letters. So that is cool to just kind of see a character like this just kind of do this kind of unique thing. Let's move on. So the radio station goes on and says, like, hey, we got a program going on right now, accepting love letters. For those of you who are willing to submit any of them, the letters will be chosen, and for your trolls, you will go on to receive a brooch, a flowery brooch, and with a magical power that will supposedly bring you love. You know what? You know what they should have done in this episode? Whoever was to go on and end up getting the brooch, yeah, have it go on and have like people start to fall in love with whoever it is, but then have it increase exponentially. Like just have everyone who's the opposite gender or whoever is around them just start falling for them, and then have it end up becoming too much to where like people are just chasing them down, and further, like yeah, like just have it just kind of blow out of proportion and just have that just gonna be an interesting thing. Like I've seen that, I think, in like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode or something like that. There had to have been something like that somewhere where I've seen it, where uh like a person ends up getting a love potion and then it ends up going toward like affects everybody. But if anything, that's not what happens here. So Usagi goes on to say, it's like, well, hey, yeah, I've never written a love letter before. And Usagi's like, yeah, I need to go on. I need to figure out who I should write that to. Well, like, Usagi is fascinated by Tuxedo Mask, so she could probably write a letter to him. If anything, I guess she has absolutely no feelings for Umino, even though Naru had told Usagi, it's like, well, hey, like, Umino is like interested in you, like he was gonna tell you that he likes you, and in turn, Usagi says nothing. So I guess Usagi has absolutely no feelings for him, and as well as also kind of make maybe the way they kind of like just swept everything under the rug by the end of that episode, where Umino is to just kind of apologize about what everything that he'd gone on to do. Like I guess that is to kind of bring us back to like, well, yeah, I guess the guy uh, realized that he had pushed too hard, and maybe um, like that was going to just do him in at the end. I don't know. I have no idea. So maybe we'll figure that out in other episodes. So Luna goes on and is to tell Usagi here. It's like, well, hey, like you shouldn't be going on and staying up late at night to be to be listening to radio stations. You should be getting to bed because you're the guardian of the uh, you're the guardian. You're the Sailor Moon. Like you should go to bed. So Usagi goes on and makes her way to bed, and so the next thing we see is that Usagi's father is going on and talking about how there is a case going on where people are having sleep sickness and that they won't ever wake up. And and Usagi's father goes on and makes the joke. It's like, well, yeah, maybe I'll if that ever happens to me, maybe I'll finally get some rest for once. And Usagi's mother is like, well, hey, don't say that. And then like Usagi's father starts to backpedal. It's like, well, yeah, like uh, because then I wouldn't be able to go on and eat all of your delicious meals, um, and so Usagi's mom was like, oh, you're trying to butter me up, huh? So eventually, she puts toast in his mouth and he eats it, and then all of a sudden, they notice in the background that Usagi is just running off, as per usual. So, whoops. Uh, okay, so I'm sure in here somewhere. Uh, so Kenji is Usagi's father's name, And Ikuko. Ikuko is Usagi's mother's name. I'm not gonna remember any of those, but at least I said it just because feasibly I'm just like, hey, at least I did look that up. So my apologies if I didn't bother actually stating what their name is. So Usagi is running to school late as usual. So Usagi realizes that she's gonna get yelled at Miss Harana, and oh, I guess I did get that name right, Harana. Man, I'm getting pretty lucky at these names for how I barely know these characters and how it took them so many episodes to actually say the names at certain points. So it is what it is. So or eventually they end up saying the names so early in the thing, and then like when I have to go through a number of episodes to not remember who exactly their names are, it's lost. So Usagi makes her way to class, and bizarrely, she's there early, but the teacher isn't. So Usagi realizes like, hey, I'm gonna catch a break here because the teacher isn't oddly here, but why isn't that she isn't here? It's so strange. So and even Umino is to be saying how irregular this is for the teacher not to be here. So Miss Harana goes on to make her way to her desk and she trips. Miss Harana is so exhausted and it's to tell everybody, hey, how about we go on and we just have a free day? Like you guys just F off and just do whatever you want. And even as the teacher is to go on and try to make a roll call and to see if everyone's there, even that like she gets ever so tired and she falls asleep. So the students are just like, what the heck is going on? Like, this seems so unlike her. This is crazy. So, but if anything, Usagi's like, well, hey, I've totally lucked out today. This is the easiest class I've ever had. So, now we have Luna. Luna is just kind of out and about, and Luna is just getting very upset the more and more Usagi doesn't really listen to her, and Luna is to assume uh, that Usagi's teacher is yelling at her and this and that. So all of a sudden we have uh, Motaki, the guy who was to have been at the arcade before, going on and telling Usagi about all the strategies, about how to beat the game. Uh, Motaki is to notice Luna and is like, "Oh, hey, cat, hey, yeah, like, nice seeing you again." And Luna's like, "Oh, like, maybe this guy had heard me talking." And Luna's like, "Yeah, maybe in the future, maybe I should go on and maybe I should really try to realize that maybe I shouldn't be talking as much because eventually this guy or whoever will go on and figure out that I'm a cat that talks." So Motaki's like, "Hey, yeah, looks like you don't have um it doesn't look like you're with Usagi, huh? I'll go and I'll give you a good, nice bowl of milk or whatever." So Motaki leaves, and so the next thing we see is Miss Harana. She's getting carted away, and the students are all watching, and they're curious about what had really happened. And so they're all saying that like they didn't realize how tiring it must be for a teacher, and they also had gone on to talk about the sleep sickness that's been going around, and that some people never go on and they wake up. Usagi says that she's jealous of those people because wouldn't it be nice to always just live in a dream? The next thing we see is the radio station, FM number 10. A guy goes on and brings in a huge box of all these letters, and he doesn't understand why they're getting all of them because it doesn't make sense. If anything, they aren't doing this program whatsoever, but they keep weirdly getting all these letters. So here's the thing. So with this radio station, we have Jadite that is going on, and he's being the DJ, and Jadite is going on and making his way into this radio station at night, and he's basically having everyone at the radio station just turn into just falling asleep, and then he kind of commandeers the radio station, kind of takes it over, and so that is to be the reason why like these people are not aware of this program going on consistently because everybody keeps falling asleep. And Jadite is kind of just taking over as this DJ, as we have Flowa. Flowa? Yeah, I think it's Flowa. That is going on and kind of being the one putting people to sleep and kind of controlling things. Because Luna eventually goes on to come to find out on the newspaper, because I don't know why, on the newspaper it says exactly what the radio station is doing. I don't get why that is to be on the newspaper, but it is for some weird reason. But it helps the story get to the like, okay, there's something wacky going on in this radio station that doesn't actually make sense with its own schedule. So the guy brings the box of letters in to this, I guess, radio executive. I have no idea. This just guy in this blazer, this suit. And so the guy's like, yeah, I don't know why we're getting all these letters, but if anything, there's an easy solution to this. Get rid of them all. And here's where Flower comes in of like, oh yeah, there's more of those letters. Great. Like, thank you for being such a team player. And so Flower ends up taking the letters and ends up reading them, or ends up taking them. So, and Flower is the third monster, the third episode. So, Naru and Usagi confessing to one another that they both were to go on and be and listening to this radio station late at night, and Naru had said, yeah, I had sent a bunch of love letters myself, hoping that they would choose me, and they haven't yet. Uh, and Usagi's like, well, hey, you don't have a boyfriend, like, or you don't have a person that you're interested in, like why are you writing these love letters? And Naru is like, well, hey, I'm writing them just for fun, like I'm writing it for a potential boyfriend. And Usagi's like, oh my god, that's actually a really smart idea. And like, my future boyfriend, all right. So if anything, Usagi was to go on and be very lost in thought, and then all of a sudden she falls over. And so she ends up apologizing, and she thought that she had bumped into somebody, and come to find out she had just bumped into a pole. Come to find out, there's to be a guy that goes on and points out that Usagi had smacked into this pole, and it coincidentally ends up being, who do you think? It's Chiba! He's back! God dang it, Chiba. So, Chiba goes on and says, hey, you just apologized to a telephone pole, and Chiba goes on to even further say, it's like, well, yeah, I know it must be tough talking, walking at the same time. Must be very difficult for you. And he tells her, you should really be paying more attention, bunhead. So, Usagi ends up getting so, like, her face starts to turn to red, tells him to shut up. So, Naru ends up going on to ask Usagi, it's like, well, hey, do you actually know that guy? That guy actually looks pretty cute, and or he looks pretty gorgeous. And Usagi's like, wrong, no, there is nothing about that man that is gorgeous. Uh, Stupid walking turtleneck. So the next thing we see is Usagi making her way to the radio, and she's stretching, and she's getting ready to figure out how to write her future love letter. And she's trying to figure out how to phrase it, how to put it together. And she's like, like how am I gonna write this for my future boyfriend? So Usagi can't come up with a single sentence, so she's kind of forcing it to realize that it's well, yeah, I failed creative writing, so there's probably a reason why I'm failing to come up with this letter now. So Usagi comes up with a strategy that she wants to go on to make her way to the radio station to talk to Jadite, um, to see how she will go on and write this love letter to him. Like, basically, she's gonna go to the radio station to see if Jadite can give her some pointers, and so that way she'll go on and get to the very specific guy directly to see what he wants her to write. Is her ultimate plan. So Usagi gets in her head that it's like, okay, we're gonna go to this radio station. So, and Luna goes along with her. So Usagi makes her way to the radio station and is getting stopped by a security guard. And the security guard goes on and waves off Usagi. It's like, no, no, no. Like, we don't even have a program here called Midnight Zero, and we never have. So Usagi's a little confused about this, and just says that it's strange. So Usagi goes on and is to wait for a very specific time and realize that on the radio there's to be the Midnight Zero program that comes back on the following night. So Usagi says, hey, that security guard lied to me, and Luna is to look at the newspaper, and here's where the whole radio programming comes in. Luna ends up telling Usagi that in the newspaper it states that there's a certain other bit of programming that's going on other than what should be going on at the radio station, so something must be up. That there's some kind of mistake going on here. So in the radio station, Jadite goes on and is reading a letter. Comes to find out, the letter is coming from none other than Naru. So Jadite says it's great that Naru believes she's destined to find love at some point, and that eventually Jadite is to have the flowery brooch in his hand to eventually send to Naru. And then we cut to Luna and Sailor Moon with the whole kind of commercial break kind of cut to. So cut back to at the school the next day. We come to find Naru, who has this little gift that was mailed to her that she opens and ends up being the flowery brooch. Usagi realizes that that same exact flowery brooch was the exact same one that Miss Harana had had, and that Miss Harana had gone on to been the exact one who had delivered that letter to the radio station before. So the girls are realizing like, oh, so Miss Harana did go on and did deliver that note before. So all these girls all listen to this radio station and they know about all this. So Naru puts this brooch on her clothes, and immediately shortly thereafter, the energy starts to evaporate from Naru, and she starts falling over, and she's tired. She mentions how all of a sudden she feels so slippy, she feels so sleepy, and people start asking her what's wrong. Naru falls over, and immediately we have Usagi that gets ever so close to Naru that eventually even she comes incapacitated by the brooch and she falls over. Now all of a sudden, Usagi is in dreamland. She's kind of flying on these clouds, and all of a sudden she meets up with Tuxedo Mask, who is also just flying in the air bizarrely. Usagi ends up kind of calling out for Tuxedo Man. He turns. So Usagi is to go on and ask Tuxedo Mask if there's a chance that he'll ever go on and be her future boyfriend. And Usagi is to be just so red in the face because she's like, oh my god, I can't believe I said it. And Tuxedo Mask is to go on and say, like, well, it seems that that'll be the way things will end up. So, uh, Usagi goes on, it's so excited at this point. She's at Cloud 9, or I guess whatever clouds are around her at 9. So, but if anything, Usagi wants to go on and see Tuxedo uh, Mask's real face. She wants to know his true identity. And so, Tuxedo Mask starts to take off his mask, and Usagi's like, oh my god, I'm going to see his identity. And then all of a sudden, she's awakened by Luna, who is to go on and is to kind of wake her up because she's at the hospital and she's next to Nero. So Luna tells Usagi that it's time for an investigation and it's time for them to make their way to the radio station. Now we have Jadite, who is to go on and tell Flower that we've gathered a considerable amount of energy and it appears the experiment was successful. And who could have guessed that the hearts of girls in love had such incredible or powerful amounts of energy. We simply make them fall asleep with that innocent looking flower brooch, and then we siphon off their dreams of love. This tool is this tool of yours is very useful. He's talking to Flower, and I believe it's about time we begin tonight's Midnight Zero show. So Jedidah is gonna go on and do one last Midnight Zero show because eventually Flower will end up getting taken out here. So they'll have to come up with another plan for another episode. So Usagi is to be waiting at the radio station right next to the gate, realizing that she's not going to be able to get in because the security guard is probably going to stop her again. So Luna goes on and does yet another flip and has a device that appears. It seems to be somewhat of a pen. And so Luna goes on and says that this pen has the power of disguise. It has the ability to change Usagi's appearance. And all that she has to go on and do is shout the words moon power and then says what she wants to look like. So Usagi takes the pen, she says moon power, and then she tells it that she wants to turn into a gorgeous newscaster. And so she ends up turning into a much older version of herself. And she says that this is so cool. And Luna ends up saying, like, did you need to add the gorgeous part? And Usagi turns to Luna and says, like, hey, we need to get going. Let's get out of here. So Luna thinks that, oh, hey, maybe this is gonna go well. Maybe Usagi's really gonna start pulling her weight here. And then all of a sudden, Usagi immediately twists her ankle and falls over. It's like, yeah, I guess not. So Jedi goes on to the midnight showing and starts talking here. And so Usagi has gone on, or Sailor Moon, I guess, at this point. Sailor Moon has gone on to figure out how to just make her way easily through this radio station, and is to go on and be right next to the door watching Jedi do a radio show, or do his radio Midnight Zero show. You would think that Usagi would have gone through this radio station and seen a number of sleeping people, but we don't quite notice that until it's a little bit, couple of seconds a little late here. So Luna goes on to say to Usagi here that Jedi is their enemy, and for them to, or for Usagi to start looking around at all the people who are to be passed out, and that Jedi has been taking over this radio show. So, oh, there is also a moment in this episode where Luna tries to convince Usagi to not want to go on and do this whole future boyfriend love letter thing, and that she's kind of living in a dream and this and that. So eventually Luna will go on and stop Usagi from kind of doing this kind of frivolous stuff. And eventually when Sailor Moon goes on and faces off against Jadite and will give him the breaking news, he'll eventually tell people to stop dreaming, or she'll tell people to stop dreaming and stop bringing in these love letters, because if anything, Jadite is using these love letters against every one of these people and are turning them comatose, and so yes, they need to stop dreaming. So because this is an interesting bit here, because eventually Jadite will go on and start talking about the first letter, and Sailor Moon will go on to interrupt their regularly scheduled program for breaking news, and states that there has been flower brooches that have been handed out by this radio program that has been uh, deemed extremely dangerous, and if you ever receive one, uh, do not touch it by any circumstance. And love letters are completely meaningless, and unless you give them directly to the person that you're writing them for. And the more and more that Usagi goes onto this rant against what Jadite is doing, Luna's like, "Hey, you stole my lines." So the next thing we see is a breaking of glass. Flower bursts her way through the glass to go against uh, Usagi here. So we see a bunch of just glass breaking. Flower turns into the monster version of herself. So in turn, we then have to have Usagi, that is in her transformation of this newscaster. She then has to go on and transform into Moon Prism Power makeup. So now we get the full-on actual Sailor Moon. So where she goes on to say, "I am the pretty guardian who fights for love and justice, trapping innocent young hearts of young girls uh, in love is crossing the line, and this isn't a crosswalk. Uh, and now, in the name of the moon, I'll punish you." So Jedi is going to realize, like, "Oh yeah, you're the Sailor Moon girl that's gone on and been getting in my way." And Sailor Moon is like, "Oh, you must be the leader of the bad guys." And it's like, "Well, my name is Jadite." So Flower goes on and attacks Sailor Moon, and Luna and Sailor Moon ends up getting a big blast here. They go through this wall. So Flower and Sailor Moon start attacking on rooftop, and Flower is getting to an attack position where Sailor Moon is probably going to get defeated here, and eventually there's a point where Flower ends up like bringing her claws out. Sailor Moon dodges it, and here's where we then go on and have Sailor Moon, who takes out the tiara, does the tiara action, and this time the attack actually misses. It misses Flower, and we're like, "Oh, okay, well, hey, something's gonna have to change now. Finally, we'll have to have Sailor Moon that does a completely different attack." And then all of a sudden, the tiara, because it's kind of like a boomerang-like attack, it misses the first time, then it comes back around and hits the second time. And so it's like, oh, okay, all right. You're trying to trick me, are you? So now that Flower is to completely get taken out here, Sailor Moon ends up giving her complete attention now, Jadeite. And in turn, Jadeite is like, well, hey, like, you think you have a chance against me? Like, you're really pressing your luck here to think that you're gonna beat me too. So Sailor Moon goes on and does her Tiara attack, and Jadeite completely stops it. And in turn, Sailor Moon is like, oh my god, like, this isn't fair. And then Jadeite goes on and does attack and takes Sailor Moon down, and Sailor Moon is almost in tears because of one whole attack. Wow, how horrible is that? So the next thing we see is a flower coming out of nowhere from, of course, the tuxedo assailant, Tuxedo Mask. This flower thing goes on and has Jadeite realize, I'm a little outnumbered here. Also, Tuxedo Mask, like, I'm more worried of him than I am of Sailor Moon of all things. So Jadeite goes on and he starts to just kind of back away into the sky, and then he has this like this black hole or kind of warping hole that he goes into, and he like falls into that and just goes back to his dark kingdom or wherever. So Sailor Moon notices the flower and then realizes that, oh, Tuxedo Mask had helped me yet again. Uh, so Tuxedo Mask goes on and says, "Farewell until we meet again," and and Sailor Moon is like, "Oh, my hero!" Woo! So now we start to see everyone who had gotten afflicted by that flower brooch has all wakened up now. Miss Harana had wakened up from her medical bed. We see all the people who are at the radio station who is all woken up now. Naru has woken up. So Usagi is to go on and start writing a love letter, and she's writing it to none other to Tuxedo Mask. And so she's starting to write this letter, and eventually we'll have Naru who grabs the letter away from her and is to say to Usagi, it's like, well, hey, like, you're seriously writing a love letter? Like, if anything, like, that radio station, like, is not going to happen anymore. There's no programming for it anymore. And Usagi's like, well, yeah, that's fine because I want to go on and I want to deliver this love letter directly to the person that I signed it off to. So Nero is like, oh, really? Like, how about I read it and how would I kind of see what you wrote? So Naru starts going on and she tries to read it, and then all of a sudden Miss Harana is like, hey, yeah, like I want to read it too. I want to read a love letter. So now all of a sudden we have Usagi that's being that's chasing Naru, and Miss Harana is behind Usagi, and they're kind of chasing after one another about this whole love letter thing, and that's how the episode ends. So thank goodness I'm gonna get that out of here. I'm so tired. Also, while I was doing this whole review, I don't know what it is. Like my tongue is just like, um. So eventually, I'm hoping that that I get this uploaded and I don't have to talk anymore. So I could just kind of just I could just uh, kind of fix whatever problem I have with my tongue. So just kind of feeling just so. Anyways, thank you for watching this. However long you were, probably 20 seconds and then done. Maybe none. Maybe nobody's gonna watch this one. I know a lot of people probably think that the thumbnail's weird. At this point, I don't really care what I do for thumbnails. If anything, uh, I just had an idea of something to do for the thumbnail, and that's just what came out. It might look weird. It might look. I don't really care at this point. I'm just trying to find something that'll fit the themes of whatever, and whatever's cheapest for me to do is the thing I end up doing. So if it looks silly or stupid or whatever, I don't care. At this point, I'm just to like just keep fitting each one of these themes, and whatever's the cheapest, easiest thing to do, that's the thing I do. So like, I don't really care what it makes me look like. I don't care if I look ridiculous in these things because I know I do. So that's a thing that I don't have to worry so much about. It like, oh yeah, I look ridiculous in all these things. I look stupid in all of them. So when eventually I do all these and I complete them and I just move on, yeah, I just don't have a second thought about them because I just know that I'm going to do freaking so many of them in the future. So it's just like I just chalk it up as like, yeah, I looked stupid in this, I looked goofy in that, I looked whatever in it. Like I said these stupid things in this video, I'm sure, but feasibly, I'm just gonna keep moving on and hoping that I find some video that people will like or will enjoy and whatever. Uh, it seemed oddly enough that some people are eventually finding these videos and are subscribing for some reason. I don't know why. Uh, I think the biggest problem is I'm probably experimenting too much, and that is a good thing, but and then also it's a bad thing because experimenting me, experimenting me, experimenting too much will go on and have somebody just randomly find one video, and if I don't go on and further do what that one video was, then people will probably end up just unsubscribing or just be like, well, what the why aren't you doing more of these? Like, well, sorry, uh like I was just experimenting right now, and like that ended up being one video that showed some kind of fruit, but we'll see how all these other videos play out in the future. If anyways, I'm just gonna get the heck out of here. So this video is less long than it actually should be. So thank you for watching this. I do appreciate it. I'm gonna get the heck out of here so I can go on and get some sleep. Uh, as far as future reviews, yeah, everything that I've kind of planned on saying, like Beastmasters and Phantoms, those will probably be future reviews that I will do soon. Simply because I also just don't want to go on and really have to actually prepare thumbnails because feasibly, if I have already a bunch of stuff set up, that's kind of what my plan is. Unless I come up with some last minute thing that's gonna change. Um, I probably also might be still doing Power Ranger stuff in the future, so that will have a good assortment number of pictures already planned out, and like there were some other movies that I kind of scrapped, and maybe I'll put those out so that we can just have those things as already pre-made things, and I'll be just done with those. Uh, Other than that, yeah, I have no idea what I'm going to be planning in the future, but hopefully, whatever it is will probably end up being a thing that people will watch, enjoy, like, or something. Because if anything, stuff on the channel is not looking too good. Even though I just recently just got a subscriber, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah. So But anyways, I'm grateful for the people who go on and check this stuff out because I get it. It's uh again, I'm being very random, and random is not helping the channel, but also uh there were things that were actually at some point going really well for the channel, and then I stopped doing those because uh like there were things that were like the fitness shorts that some of them were doing well, um but really just got down to the point where uh like I really lost the rhythm of my day-to-day routines of things, and like a YouTube video took, instead of me being able to get it done in one day, it took me 2 days. And then I had to kind of figure out what to do with my workouts, and then my workouts like suffered, and like yeah, so things really started to stretch and really started to um, have me more so not have like the perfect routine that I was having for a very long time. So plus anything also, it's just me getting more and more just like I want a day off, or I want to eventually like after I've done so many days that I just want some kind of something. um it's very hard to keep going at this because of how much detail I do into all of it, or how much this or that I do of it all. Uh, but there has also been like way too many times that I've just been either severely depressed, or I've just been super unmotivated or super or lazy. So it's just that's why I've taken so much time off of this channel, which I shouldn't because it really hurts it, but it's gonna hurt it anyways. The channel is like it's not sustainable anymore. Um, Even when I go on and I do these videos very regularly, there's nothing that's gonna definitively go on and change the tide anymore. I wish I could say otherwise, but like at this point, I think the only really good strategy is to stay with probably like action movies, and that's about it. It seems to be the only thing that seems to be garnering anyone's real true interest. But also, uh, even that, like, that's just like that only goes so far. Um, Reviews aren't doing well anymore, but then also anything on the platform isn't doing well anymore. You have to just be really lucky, or you just have to be any number of things. I probably explained that through a bajillion other videos. I probably explain that too often. Uh, that eventually people are probably sick of it, but if anything, it's true. Uh, Plus, also, it just makes my. Plus, I'm severely tired, so I'm just saying all this stuff just stupidly, if that's even a word. Um, there, I'm trying to figure out the perfect thing of words here to say here. I always question everything that I say afterwards because, or I always question everything that I do because I always want to come off as like I'm hoping everybody thinks of me as a good person, and I also had times where I put videos out because I knew they were going to go well. And I was like, yeah, like I just have to put this out. Like I'm not happy that I have to put it, but I know if I put it out, it'll do well. But like it was really projects that I didn't want to do, and I was kind of feeling like, yeah, like no wonder why no one subscribed because like, or no wonder why like those videos did well, but no one really. There was nothing that came from those because it's just like, well, like I'm just manipulating the system, um, because I know that something is popular and it's going to do well. So in turn, yeah, no one's going to care about me just because it's like, well, like I'm working this thing, and uh, and so why would anybody care about me? They would just care about like, well, they would care about the content instead of me, the person. And there's a lot of times where I'm even doing like the simplest things, and there's even videos where I don't even like the fitness shorts. I don't even say anything. I just do the video. I just do the exercise and then I leave. And then there's just this consistent, just like negativity. And I'm like, why? Like most of the time, like I'm just doing the exercise and leaving. Like I maybe any number of these exercises could just be taken in the wrong way of like, hey, I'm boasting that I can do this, or and it's never like that at all. Like I'm not coming on here boasting anything. I'm not coming on here to like try and say that I'm better than anybody or smarter than anybody or whatever. Like there could be times where I could probably feel very upset that it's like, you know what, I'm doing something here that I don't think anyone else is doing. Like the whole like me finding apps was like I thought that was like a genius idea. I thought that was like me finding apps for people to be able to see whatever they want. Endless whatever they wanted. Like I thought that was like the stroke of genius move. I thought I was like, man, like I'm really gonna like be a pioneer and whatever because no one else on this entire platform is doing the exact same thing. And like I thought that was going to be the thing to just put me on the map. Doesn't matter. I don't think no one trusts it. I don't think no one believes it. I think probably a lot of people think that I'm probably lying about that, or they can't trust it or whatever. So in turn, they can't trust me. So that's why they don't subscribe, they don't this, they don't that. Like, but like, I thought if nothing else, like that would be the edge I had, and maybe also just me like saying it's like, oh, I can watch whatever I want. Like maybe that is also another thing where it's like a flex or a boast or what. Like I can't win. I can't win at anything. Um, and that's the frustrating thing of just like I'm just trying to be honest with people, and I don't know, like I don't know how I'm always coming off. I don't know how I'm like. So it's really hard to just be thinking of a number of ways where I thought I was doing right, and here's where I still am. So I don't know. Like, it's because there's a lot of times where I am lately so angry and so frustrated, and I wasn't like that when I started this. Like, I wasn't like that. I was just happy to do the projects. Like, I was doing a number of them, and I was just like, whatever I need to do to just keep going. Um, like, I was fine with it. I was okay with it. Like, I was just like, okay, let's just keep going. Let's keep doing like 5 projects in one day. Let's do 5 videos in one day. Let's do 4 video, 3 video, whatever video. Like, how many ever I have to do, I'll not sleep for 2 days, and I'll do a number of videos, whatever I can do. But now I've gotten to the point where it's like, it's becoming a problem of me even watching anything on YouTube because I'm just so, like, whenever I look at anyone else and watch them like do a video, I'm just so angry, and I'm just so upset. And that's just watching any random YouTuber. And some of them could be at the same rung as I am. Um, or some of them could be like a billion times better. But like, I don't really want to be that guy that's just watching a YouTube video and like, 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 because it probably is like the bitterness and the crappy of like, like, not that these people are making these shorter videos, or they're doing this kind of easy content. No, like, it's really just like, how could I have let this channel like just slip the way it has? and like, if I really would have been better at this, if I would have been smarter at it, like, maybe I could have actually gone on, and I don't know, like, it kind of also just becomes just pure freaking luck, and pure just like, hey, flip the coin. If I didn't go this way and I went that way, then um then a million things would be different. In one timeline, I'd been successful at this. In another timeline, uh, like, I was worse at it. Either way, I'm just still here anyways. So here's the ever continuing pattern of putting my foot in my mouth. I don't know. And again, like, I want to say before I get out of here, because I'm freaking raving like a madman. Before I get out of here, I want to stress the fact that I don't want to blame anybody besides myself for all of my shortcomings. Um, And hopefully, hopefully, like, it's so to the point now where uh, there's too many factors to try to figure out the best course to go here. I know a lot of people are just like, "Oh yeah, just do the Stranger Things." It seems that everybody's talking about that, or just do the new hip thing, or just stick with one topic and just drive that in the ground. Um, like a lot of people can look at the Power Ranger videos and they see that those are doing well compared to everything else. Some people may have just come here just for Power Ranger videos and that's it. Um, and I see people that only do Power Ranger videos and I see what it takes. I see the toll that it takes on them. And eventually, you can kind of see that they start to get sick of doing Power Ranger stuff, that they want to talk about anything else. Or they realize that, like, if they talk about anything else, it won't really matter. Um, and that's sad that they feel that they have to just stick to one topic, but maybe that's a huge mistake that I make. I've bounced around too much. I've given too much variety, and and I've also come off not happy after the fact. Why didn't this stupid video, this random thing that I did, why didn't it do super well? Because it's the freaking most random thing that I could put out that day. Um, yeah, I've made a lot of stupid ideas. I realize that now. Um, uh, like, but I don't see like Patrick Swayze, that Demi Moore Ghost movie that went extremely well, and I don't know why. Um, but then after that, it was like I never reached that again. So it's kind of weird how the algorithm works, and it's weird how eventually any of this works. Um, or if it is working, I have no idea. So I don't know. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for listening to this. Again, just me trying to figure things out. Uh, yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm angry, but then again, um, it's the choices that I make, it's the decisions that I make for the channel. I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be the best thing for the and nothing's gonna be the best for the channel. Um, I the things that I'm doing, I love them. I love doing Power Rangers, even though it's like 5 hours really for that effing video, you moron. Those should be way shorter. A lot more people would probably actually check them out if they were a lot shorter. Uh, but I just I love doing Power Rangers. I like consistently doing them, and it does well for the channel. So uh, I'm gonna get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.